T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. My life has value.
Good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Global Watchman News. My name is Lori Swan. Hope you guys are all doing well. If you're in the live chat, we do ask that you keep it family friendly. There will be moderators in there to make sure that we stay within the terms of service put forth to us by the platform we're utilizing tonight. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Take a minute, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you know we go live. So you know what tonight is. Tonight's Wednesday night. I know this is you guys had a 2-for-1 show today, or 2 for today. If you didn't know, we were live this morning, very early this morning, talking about SatanCon. Go on over and check that out with Michael Soror. And it was a really good conversation this morning. But tonight we're back with our Wednesday night panel. We're going to go around and introduce everybody, starting with Mr. Ernie.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're here, huh?
Yeah, I'm about to have a food baby. I'm in the food coma right now.
He's in a food coma, guys. Well, you should have taken a nap before you come on.
I had literally no time today to do a nap between broadcasts and meetings and work and picking up the kids from school and dropping them off and all this stuff in between. Nah, what's a nap, man?
I know.
I keep going.
I did. I was blessed with a nap today. So, but I'm still quite, it's me. Welcome back to the panel, Big John.
The hardest working man in the room.
One more time.
Absolutely. How you been?
I've been well.
Good. Very good. You texted me last night, and we kind of threw Hero for a loop because we were planning on talking about the 411 missing people in the federal wooded areas, the federal reserves and stuff, and talking about the cryptids this week. But you had sent me a text late last night talking about you wanted to talk about some information tonight, so I completely changed the topic. So to accommodate that, and I'm so sorry, Hero. Hero, welcome. Yeah.
I had honestly forgot about that cryptid.
Yeah, it's okay. The information that you got to put out there, I think, is pretty important.
Hero, she did you dirty, bruh.
I did you dirty, hon.
Sorry.
Next week, I promise. How you doing?
I'm good. About you?
Good. Really good. Really good. You keeping busy over there on TikTok?
Not really. I've been kind of like chilling recently. I just dropped like a new video today, but I don't know. I've kind of been bored with the whole TikTok thing. Honestly.
The tickety talkers over there. Yeah, it's I don't know. But speaking of another tickety talker, we've got Hurricane Anne, the queen of the band.
Hurricane band.
I am the queen of band.
Hurricane band.
Yeah, they got all my
That's what we're gonna
accounts.
call you, Hurricane band.
I didn't even post on 3 of my accounts that they banned. I only posted on 1, and they banned 4 accounts. So I guess I am the TikTok band queen.
Hurricane band. That's what we're gonna call you from now on. Yeah. I like it. So tonight we're going to talk about an interesting, I think it's an interesting topic. I don't know. Back in the 1980s, I started researching the topic of the Anunnaki and NIBIRU. Now I want to remind you guys, back in the 1980s, and I'm talking the early 80s, 80, 81, 82, before I graduated high school, there was no computers. So I did have to do research. I had to do it through, going to the library and reading, ancient books and watching programs on TV about things. So when I talk about researching something back in the 80s, not only don't I have a digital timeline of it or a digital proof of it, but I had to depend on the creation of the internet to go back and try to get the sources to substantiate the things that I had researched. But back in the 1980s, when I first started hearing about NIBIRU. What about you guys?
I only heard of it probably in 2014, 2015. Before my conversion, but 2015 I saw for sure. But I kind of went straight to the well, that sounds like some kind of a cover up for the fallen angels.
And you would be correct. And a lot of people don't even understand that the whole thing, if you research the history of the Anunnaki, it pretty much clones the whole fallen angel coming down and mixing with humans and creating, the Nephilim. And in this case, in the case of the Anunnaki, instead of creating the Nephilim, they created the human beings we have today, the genetically altered human beings. So we're going to get into that. One Hero, have you heard of the Anunnaki or NIBIRU? Hero. There you are.
I've heard a lot of different things about the Anunnaki and NIBIRU and stuff like that. I've seen some images and videos of people claiming that NIBIRU has returned and stuff like that. And the pictures look real. Like you can see that clearly there was almost two suns, one bigger and one smaller. But I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of misinformation about that whole NIBIRU and Anunnaki gods thing. I always thought that was interesting. And I posted some TikToks where I was talking about those ancient Anunnaki wall carvings and drawings and things of that nature. And I always try to be kind of vague with that because people don't really like you to talk about that on a lot of these social media sites. So yeah, it's I don't know, it's a very complex issue with that whole Anunnaki thing.
All right. Anne, what about you?
Well, I'm kind of like you. I started researching, I guess, about 10 years after you in the early 90s, and with the late 80s and early 90s. And I went to the library and got my books and just was really drawn to all the same things that Lori researched. And I wasn't real surprised when I first found out about the Anunnaki because, well, I don't want to jump ahead of it, but, in the first chapter of the Bible, it talks about gods in plural. And I'm real, black and white. So I was always curious why it said that in plural. So when I heard about the Anunnaki and read about the Anunnaki, I thought it kind of makes a little bit of sense to me,
Right.
That's kind of where I've been at.
Gotcha. Well, I'm going to play a short video. It's from Ancient Aliens, and hopefully we don't get a strike on this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to play about 30 seconds of it. I'm going to stop. I'm going to say a few words, and then we're going to go back. So hopefully we can get around that and use it for fair use.
As far as ancient astronaut theorists are concerned, evidence that there is other intelligent life in the universe has already been found on every corner of the globe. They believe Earth has been visited by intelligent beings for thousands of years, and that it most likely began during the time of the ancient Sumerian kings.
Okay, we know that. I mean, if you look at the the stone carvings in ancient Sumeria, which would be southern Iraq to this day, you will see them, and they do look like astronaut or star people, which is what they were called, and they were referenced as.
Khorsabad, Iraq, March 23rd, 1843. While excavating for archaeological treasures, a group of men led by French scientist 𝀭🀭💾💾 came upon the remains of a huge Assyrian palace, and within it, an abundance of Sumerian cuneiform inscriptions. When translated, the inscriptions told of what archaeologists believe to be the world's oldest civilization, and a group of powerful beings called the Anunnaki.
The Anunaki was a term of the gods used by the ancient Sumerians, but the original form of it simply meant the sky people. It meant those that were connected with the stars. The Anunnaki were seen to be the givers of civilization to mortal kind, and they are described as having these shining eyes and having a radiance and an otherworldly feeling about them.
Based on 30 years of studying the Sumerian cuneiform tablets, in 1976, author and researcher Zecharia Sitchin published a book called The 12th Planet, in which he proposed that the Sumerian gods were, in fact, refugees from another world. According to Sitchin's interpretation of the tablets, these alien visitors, the Anunnaki, created humankind.
It appears to be that gods came down and literally started a colonization project here on Earth, creating us in their image and after their likeness. It also might stand to reason then that they've infused us with the desire to then spread this colonization project beyond Earth.
Just last week, guys, we talked about the Nephilim and how they genetically altered DNA before the flood. And the whole Sumerian, the whole Anunnaki timeline and history and stories totally lines up with that, the biblical fall of man. Let me.
Now, I will say with the Anunnaki, I believe in the original Hebrew, it says, I think it calls them the like the Elohim or something like that. I might be messing that up, but I could have sworn like the original Hebrew, like they were called the Elohim in the Bible.
Yeah, but then you're going with the line of that there isn't one God, that there are many gods that created us. And I mean, is that what you're saying? So if we believe the Elohim, that is plural.
Well, that would be the angels. That's not God, and that would be the angels. God, I think, is Adonai, I believe.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that is. Let me just. So here's the story, the official. I'm using air quotes here. The official Wikipedia, the Anunnaki, the Sumerian, also translated as Anunnaki, Anunnaki, Anunna, Anunaki, and other variations, are a group of deities of the ancient Sumerians, Assyrians, and Babylonians. In the earliest Sumerian writing about them, which come from the Post-Akkadian period, the Anunaki are deities in the pantheon, descendants of An and Ki, the god of the heavens and the goddess of earth, and the primary function is to decree the fate of humanity.
Oh, the Anakim, the ones who Joshua fought.
And that's where I'm going to turn it over to you. See how I did that? Right over to you.
You know, the story now, let's go back. I'm going to say, like, you know, a couple of years ago when I first started my TikTok, I disclosed on March 13th, 2 years ago, about the operation in a certain museum. And then, of course, everybody knows I don't have any topics on my, I just ramble. So I mentioned that there was something called the flood of Jeremiah, which was before Adam. Now, people I hear lately have been saying, you know, different creators on TikTok that, you know, they're like, well, the tablets that, you know, that tell the story of what happened on the earth predates the Bible. And does anybody ever really sit back and think about that? Predates the first 5 books, the Torah, which Moses received on the mountain. And it's like, who's to say that that they just told a story that the fallen angel saw and they just happened to write it down on their own terms? It's kind of like, here's a fact. When Moses was writing the Torah, across the world and the 4 corners, the Anasazi was telling the same story. They were there at the same time. So is it far-fetched to say that the fallen entities are going to tell you a story to keep keep daddy, not involved? You know what I mean? Of
course. Absolutely. 100%.
But it's like, and they're like, it just totally predates it and it proves everything that they created us. It's really not. When you really think about it, it doesn't prove anything. It's like, no, they were there watching. It's kind of like them watching a secret ingredient being put in, then they're like, hey, let's go talk about it.
Right.
But now the flood of Jeremiah, there were 3 wars before Adam and man was even on the earth. And that was Rahab, Mars, and then the earth. The flood of Jeremiah was the 3rd angel war. And, well, there exists a language before Adam used in these kingdoms of the Golden Age, because all 3 wars were all Golden Age scenarios: Rahab, Mars, and Earth. That language, it has been by certain people. It has its own glyphs. It's called Enochian language, the language of Enoch. What Enoch spoke to the Watchers when they were in prison, and it's a language that has already been deciphered, and the Smithsonian probably has some pieces, but not all of it. They ain't got the good stuff, I'll tell you that. But they know, and they fit the narrative to tell you that the Anunnaki created us, but inside, and they keep the narrative, it's predates the Bible, so it's them. God didn't make anything, we did. The Anunnaki did. But they know of the actual kingdom language of the Enochian language of Enoch and the original fallen angels. And it tells a story about how Lucifer was commanded on Rahab, and It tells those entire stories on what they call the Nephilim stone, like the Rosetta Stone. Well, there exists, and it's in the possession of someone. I've seen it. It's a tablet, and it has those glyphs on it. And I haven't decided yet, but I probably will. I'll show you the adjectives and the sounds of each glyph. And nobody on TikTok has ever even seen that before, even has it.
Wow.
And basically everybody can just who says all this narrative that the Anunaki is such great things and it's not Lucifer, it ain't this, they're special people, they can shut up. Because they ain't got this. And it existed. It was there. It's the Enochian language before any kind of stupid tablet was even dug up on Lucifer's narrative. So this is the real history, is the Nephilim stone.
Exactly. And I mean, it goes to show the extent that the people or the entities running this world will go to keep this stuff hidden. Because they don't want us to know the true history of the world. And because once these little g gods come back, you know, we keep hearing NIBIRU's coming, it's in the solar system. You know, we got pictures, you know, people showing, look in the sky, I could see two suns, there's NIBIRU, you know, and you're showing me lens flare, you know, and I keep telling these people, look, I travel a lot. I'm traveling down the road in the middle of the night, you know, away from city lights. You know, you guys are seeing things that if a planet that size were this close to the Earth, it would be torn apart by gravity. Okay. If you believe in the ball Earth, and if you believe in flat Earth, it's not even a belief. You can't believe in the Anunnaki. You can't believe in NIBIRU and believe in a flat Earth. You can't do it. And if you're biblical, you would be able to see the similarities between the history of the Anunnaki and the history of the fallen angels in the book of Genesis.
That's it. It's it's like a cover up of cover up. You know, if people can just imagine, I've always found this to be easy. Once I thought about it or even learned about it or was told it or whatever. But the Tower of Babel was just always has been in my mind since I learned about it and saw it. People see it as different paintings, and it has people kind of wearing like robe clothes, and you know, it's kind of more like a caveman kind of scenario. But when I saw it in a dream, and this is my opinion, this is my vision, they had the Vimanis type aircraft flying around. It was a bioengineering lab. I said that 2 years ago. And it was a scene of like a modern day city. It wasn't the plains of Shinar was technologically advanced. It wasn't just some old desert and they're like, let's build this tower here. It had more technology and advanced equipment that Osiris / Nimrod got a hold of than people can imagine. But they'll never let you know that narrative. I said one time, a long time ago, if you can imagine Noah wearing clothes like us, that understanding would the whole flood story would make so much sense to you. That it wasn't some kind of like people were looking around for food. It was a whole society that was manipulated with what you see today. It's the same thing. People imposing their will on you, which boils down to what? DNA and gender. It's the same thing. So right. I always say it's just a play. We're in part 2. Intermission is over with. That was the flood. Now it's part 2 of the play.
Right. And so with this ancient religion, I mean, or this ancient language that Enoch, so you're saying that Enoch, this is how he communicated with the Watchers.
Yes.
Well, that makes sense because, I mean, obviously, and you know, they didn't come down there and they'll speak English. or they didn't come down here and all speak, Greek or Hebrew or Arabic or whatever the language of the time was. Obviously, there would have been previous languages that a lot of people forget that the Bible is only the account of humanity, of the humans created in God's image. But there was so much before the creation.
Of course.
We
And
we aren't his first creation.
Yeah. Creation of him and his image, that's his first, is us. But there were other things.
Right. Exactly.
And it's obvious too, when you read about the Tower of Babel. Well, before that, there was no Babel. It was all one language. But what was that language? It was an ocean. Do you think that Osiris just kind of dug up stuff and I know how to use this? The fallen angels communicated it.
And that goes along with, everything the fallen angels taught us. They taught us when they came down how to they taught us abortion. They taught us how to cook meat. They taught us how to wear jewels and makeup. They taught us how to create weapons. It would make sense that they would teach us language.
Yeah, drug abuse. I mean, everything, every human's problem, guess who showed up with it?
Right. Exactly. So Zecharia Sitchin is famous for the revelation of, or the public revelation of not only NIBIRU, but the Anunnaki. And I'm going to tell you guys, if you follow Zecharia Sitchin, you're not getting the truth. Zecharia mistranslated the Sumerian text, and he did it on purpose. And he did it willingly. And the reason he did it was because if you read Zecharia Sitchin's biography, he attended the London School of Finance. He has no training when it comes to the translation of any old, lost, forgotten, new, improved languages, let alone
just like 𝀭🀶🉾. Just like 𝀭🀶🉾 don't have any credentials to speak anything medical.
Right, exactly. So this guy, he attended London School of Finance, and I'm going to tell you who he attended with was George Soros, and they met there. He was trained at that school. He befriended George, and he also befriended the Rothschilds. And I'm trying to pull up where it is. Let me pull up this one right here. When the public got wind of his translations, a lot of the colleges were pulling the translations and trying to do what they call peer review. And this was everything that is published or comes out in like science or medical or anything like that goes through what is called peer review, where your peers or people that have the same educational level as you will look at the information and will verify it. Sitchin's information on NIBIRU and the Anunaki could never be verified because it could not hold up to peer review. The connection between Zecharia Sitchin and Lord Rothschild, according to Sitchin's biography, he attended London School of Economics right along George Soros, Lord Rothschild's, as an instructor. He was an instructor at the London School of Economics. Sitchin worked in Israel as an editor before writing his book, The 12 Planets. Sitchin came to America in 1952. That very same year, Soros started his quantum fund with $100 million of Rothschild's capital. Soros came to America in the same year. Coincidence? Keep reading. Sitchin's first book, The 12th Planet, was published by Berkeley Books, which is a subsidiary of Penguin Publishing, and that's owned by Pearson PLC. The stockholders of Pearson PLC are members of the quasi-secret company called the Economist Group. Well, where do we know the Economist Group from? They're a magazine that comes out once a year. Those are the magazines that we look at the covers every year and go, what are they trying to tell us? One of the ones I just posted up was the Phoenix and the Bitcoin from, I think it was 1992, something like that.
Wow. Yeah, the Phoenix, out of the ashes it will rise, a new world order.
The New World Order, and talking about the Bitcoin. There's a direct connection between Stitchin and Rothschild. Rothschild co-financed Stitchin's work through his publishing company and had contact with him at the London School of Economics. Therefore, it was Lord Rothschild who helps distribute the ancient alien agenda. Now, why would the powers that be, why would the elite ruling this world as people such as the Rothschilds want to push the ancient alien religion? Because it's what it is, guys, isn't it? It's almost gotten to be a religion.
It is, because you can tell by the people who are pushing it or even talk about it, they always have the same script about, we don't like God because we can't do what we want. Because it pushes that narrative every time. It's like, well, God can't be real because these Anunnaki, on the other hand, were around and they create. It's like, then they go with what predates the Bible. It's the same old dog and pony show, and it's corny.
Here's a picture of.
It's outright asinine.
It's asinine. That's a funny word. Here's a picture of Zechariah Stitchin. And go ahead.
Zechariah told his best friend, stated that Enki is Lucifer. The man said that
on his deathbed.
You mean to tell me this Colonel Sanders looking mug is? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
He translated from the tablet that he was too drunk to taste this chicken.
I guess so.
Hey, he was a hot
His
number.
herbs and spices when Strep is behind.
And what are we watching?
I couldn't wait to. It was so good. Like, I was so into that. Like, it's such a disappointment to find out about him and how he just, started exaggerating things. And I guess he just kind of. I was listening to a interview on Joe Rogan with Graham Hancock, who is actually friends with Zechariah Stitchin, and he was saying how Zechariah just kind of got into it and just, I guess maybe just felt like he just had to keep coming up with more and more and more, stuff, and just kept making it.
Drunk on the popularity. I mean, his
right.
entire, his books and everything, that were making him money, and people were falling for it. And they, God forbid, if they pick up the Bible and read the true story of the quote unquote giants, fallen angels, because they're the ones that are the Anunaki, not these entities that Stitchins tries to sell to us. I'm going to show you guys. Somebody had mentioned that he's a Mason. It's out. Nah, muted here. But you're going to see, remember, this is him. Take a look. And he covers his face right
there. He is.
There he is.
He's an old goofy Mason. Oh, surprising.
Yep, exactly. And I did verify that through the records that he is a Mason. So again, they got him. They used him to create this. What do I want to say? This story, this fairy tale, and it gets better. Okay, so back, like I said, in the 1980s, I started researching this, and there was a lot of people talking about. This is one of the first history, ancient alien astronauts theory came out. And a lot of people were picking up on his information. A lot of people were talking about it. And at that time, I distinctly remember, and I remember because I wrote it in a notebook, that during the 1980s, President Reagan signed a executive order making it illegal for NIBIRU to be talked about publicly. And I have been looking and looking for it. I couldn't find the notebook, but I did find this. 1983, Ronald Reagan signed a still secret executive order forbidding public officials from mentioning the word NIBIRU. Why would he do that, guys? Is NIBIRU, how can I put this? Is the Anunnaki fairy tale being used to cover up NIBIRU? Because we know that the Roman Catholic Church on Mount Graham, they've got the telescope. They're looking for something. They're looking for the Sky Brothers, or they're looking for something, right?
Well,
Definitely.
I know NASA has been talking a lot about this quote unquote Planet X. They've been talking about that for years, and a lot of people believe that that's basically their name for NIBIRU. So
yeah, but we've been hearing about this. This is supposed, I mean, we heard it was coming in 2002. We heard it was coming in 2000. We heard it was coming in 2002. We heard it was coming in 2012. We heard it was coming in 2020. We keep hearing, oh, it's in our solar system now. I mean, how long does this sucker take to get here?
Well, would we even know that it's here when they have like all this stuff that they could put in the sky to hide it? Like, we would know when it gets close, because it would start messing with, and again, this is all on speculation on a globe Earth. If you believe in a flat Earth, none of this matters.
Yeah, that's true.
The
Phoenicians, I can't, out of my memory bank, I can't remember them ever really talking about this NIBIRU cycle. Now their numbers match up with Roswell on everything. How long it takes the Earth to go through the signs of the zodiac and all that. I mean, but they never really mentioned NIBIRU or its cycles or anything. And the Phoenicians obviously were the ones who were taken up into quote unquote space to even see how to make the prime meridian, because regardless whether the Earth's flat or not, navigational of anything still uses the Phoenician setup today. And
I think, doesn't a lot of this have, a lot of this, like I said, I believe this is a form of a religion. This is a form of a new age.
100%, because exactly what it does, it knocks out the whole narrative. Because what's more interesting to people, to hear about the old mean God who kills women and children and men who are Nephilim, by the way, or do they want to hear about these 12 Anunnaki who started doing good stuff and they found like a orangutan, and then they put some of their DNA in it, and then they made a human. It's all about, it's just like people watching a movie, it matches their frequency. Like, it's just, what story do you want to hear? Until you truly know God, the creator, I speak for myself. I was mad at him at one time, but didn't even know why. Probably because I just listened to other people, or I felt, or I didn't get my way, which is everybody's problem.
Right.
He was always watching me. He's always making me be good. It's kind of like, it's dumb in reality. But anyhow, it's the story. It's more of a, well, wait a minute. They told me in church that God created me, but these guys took an orangutan and they did something with it and they made a human. So that's more interesting. Or whatever, whatever.
Absolutely, it's more interesting. Yeah, exactly. What would you want to do? I mean, if you believe that you came from an orangutan, you don't answer to anybody.
Exactly. And plus, another thing is, what do the Anunnaki do for mankind that God doesn't? God don't interfere with your free will, but the fallen give you anything that you need on a ready basis.
Right.
You ask for it, you do the ritual, you get it.
Right.
That's the thing. People, they want what they want right then and there.
Instant gratification. That is
100%.
one of the problems with
they don't
humanity.
want to walk. They don't want to walk blind and believe in faith. You know.
Right. Right. They don't want to wait. They want instant gratification. They want it now. They want it and they want it now. The thing of it is this whole thing with Nibiru and the Anunnaki has made a lot of people rich. There's been a lot of books. There's the History Channel, the history, talking about, the ancient astronaut theory. One in particular person comes to mind, and that's Eric von Daniken. And did you know that Eric, he wrote Chariots of the Gods, published in 1968. And the thing about his is we see him all the time talking about the ancient astronaut theory on the History Channel. We hear him all the time talking about this. But do you know that his books have been rejected by virtually every scientist and academics, and they categorize his work as pseudo-history, pseudo-archaeology, and pseudoscience? They don't even believe his nonsense. He's been convicted several times for several counts of fraud and embezzlement, and he wrote one of his books from prison. This is the man that the History Channel holds in high regards to this ancient astronaut theory.
It's just a good thing because they let you do what you want. They give you everything you needed.
When you get to be that involved, when you get to be, like Stitchin. He had George Soros, his buddies. One of his professors at the school was a Rothschild. When they find these people, and groom them, I guess they'll do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's the same thing when they try to find out if you believe in Jesus or not. And then they put a group together and you go get to do stuff.
Yeah. Here's another one I found. Stitchin, and this is, I truly believe, the religious connotation. Stitchin's Sumerian text translations contrived by Illuminati to promote false alien religion. Zechariah Stitchin is widely acknowledged as a pioneer in disseminating the idea that one or more extraterrestrial races has visited Earth in iniquity and has assisted in the development of human civilizations. His translation of Sumerian cuneiform texts suggests that an alien race called the Anunnaki created humanity, has been translated to over 25 languages and sold millions of copies worldwide. The problem, according to the latest revelation by the secret space program whistleblower Corey Goode, is that Sitchin's translations contain contrived information. Again, he went to finance school. He has literally no schooling whatsoever on translating Latin, let alone a lost Sumerian language.
Well, if the people want to get proven and they believe in the scripture, there are two words in Genesis in chapter 1 that are Hebrew, tohu and bohu. Where is that only found ever again? In Jeremiah chapter 4, verses 22 to 29. That proves a pre-Adamite kingdom where there was no man and the birds of heaven had fled. Man and birds don't translate to nothing else. It's the same thing as when he made the fowls of the earth and he made a man. That's what it is. So there was no humans, but there were birds. And they flew away. They fled when he broke down the cities out of great anger. And it says it, before the earth was without form and void. Now, everybody should know by now that those don't mean that. It should be read, but it became desolate. And empty. Right. So that proves pre-Adamite. I don't care. This is my opinion. I don't care anybody else says.
Yeah.
Those words don't translate to nothing else. And if you look back in Genesis, why would he tell Adam and Eve to replenish? Replenish doesn't go in anything else. It means make new again. That's it. Why make it new again? I thought it was brand new. You just say it again. Well, that's it. Tohu bohu. That's, I mean, it proves it. It's Jeremiah
Not
saw
only
that.
that, but when you really get into just studying the Bible and you learn about when Cain was cast out of Eden, when he was cast, he was sent to the land of Nod and he found a wife. Nobody ever thinks of where the frick is Nod and who was his wife.
100%. And then they don't think about Pangea. None of that stuff matters. They're like, oh,
None of
well,
that stuff, no.
And it's like, well, the Vatican's built on top of Nod. Why would the Vatican build anywhere else but one of the original surviving cities of the Third Angelic War? You know, They think the Vatican, I mean, they think Peter was the first pope. They think, oh, well, Peter knew all this stuff. Peter didn't know anything. Peter was talking to the 𝀭🀭💾 whose prophecy is on the dollar bill, because she was a liaison to the Vatican and to the Catholic Church in the beginning. And she talks about what? The Golden Age. Isn't it a repetitive topic that all these weirdos always talk about the Golden Age?
And that's supposedly what they're supposed to be ushering in now.
Yeah, bring it back. The dollar bill,
Mm-hmm.
The return of Jupiter, Lucifer, and the Golden Age of man. That's what they want to bring back because they don't know nothing else. They got to bring back what everybody's, oh, wow, yeah, this DNA. I mean, you can tell it's a whole agenda being pushed that the Anunaki is going to come back and make us new again or whatever. It's the total opposite of what Jesus says. The belief in me makes every living creature new again. It's a copy, you know. And I want to be like, every time I see these people, I figured it out, the Anunaki, I'm like, I want to say, yeah, shut up. It's fallen entities. They're not special. But it's like, I don't know. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I can see it from the forest for the trees easily.
Yeah, but I mean, we should disregard them because they have no power unless we provide them the power, and providing the power is being fearful of them and not realizing you have a God that has created the heavens and the earth and man. I mean, what's the big deal with all these things? What they talking about, what's coming, and what planet is going to be coming down from the stars? I mean, we have a God, and people need to start realizing that. I mean, this stuff is propaganda and fear mongering type of stuff.
Well, it is, because you have a lot of people. I mean, if you watch social media, if you watch these videos of people, they're like, you know, NIBIRU, it's coming. I mean, you know, it's like Chicken Little. The sky is falling, you know, and they're so afraid that this is going to, you know, come. And a lot of people that I've talked to who do believe in this whole NIBIRU thing, falsely tie NIBIRU into wormwood. And wormwood and NIBIRU are completely different things from the book of Revelation. Revelation is wormwood. You know, you got to think of the time when John was shown these visions. He had a limited vocabulary. He couldn't type, you know, he couldn't write down exactly what he saw. It's no different than Ezekiel. You know, Ezekiel saw these UFOs in the sky, and he translated them into the chariot of the gods, into the wheel, the wheel of Ezekiel, because they had a limited vocabulary. So when John was shown these things in the book of Revelation, he had only a few words that he could use to put forth what he was seeing. And one of those was with wormwood. You know, it was a giant mountain coming down. I firmly believe it wasn't a mountain at all. I believe it was a nuclear weapon or a missile of some sort. I think that's what he saw in the book of Revelation. So when you see all these things and you have these translations, you have to understand that a lot of these translations, they didn't have the words to put it down of what they were really seeing.
Absolutely. And I mean, to me, the Bible is as literal can get. And what they're providing is descriptions of what they saw. So when it comes, you'll be like, oh, that's what he's talking about. But for those who don't understand the Bible, they're going to live in nothing but fear. And fear is going to lead to their downfall.
Right. So so I've always said the Anunnaki are the fallen angels. And when you look at the Sumerian text, when you look at the drawings on the walls, and you see these, because we showed them last week, the DNA manipulation between man and humans, or between humans and animals. These are the same things that the Anunnaki show. Here's one in particular. This is one of the Anunnaki gods. What is that? It's one of the fallen. It's one of the Nephilim. It's one of the DNA manipulated creatures that the flood wiped out.
I have a question for John about that particular museum where that picture was taken at. Was broken into, and everything was torn up and destroyed, and things were stolen during the war there. And John, what do you know about that?
Well, it was stolen per se, but being broken up, that was all way after. Like I said, it was business as usual. There was no shock and awe. It was just quiet. I'm gonna say it was a normal day.
Business as usual day.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, it was 2:10 in the morning, but it was business as usual. It was a museum that was on the list of museums to visit. People, it's not like, of course you get a travel advisory before the United States starts, messing everything up. But many people visit that museum. It's it's an international museum.
Well, what were they trying to hide or steal? Because there was obviously something there that I think our government probably.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like our government was responsible for that.
I said it before that 2 people were recovered. One was an egg.
What?
The egg. Oh, so you haven't heard about the egg?
No.
Where you been?
I'm about to say, Hurricane Anne, she sounds like
I've been in the chicken coop and I ain't heard about
Where
that.
Where you been? Oh, girl.
Well, tell me.
Okay, so yeah, Stargate was recovered, but like I said, Stargates are dime a dozen.
Right.
They wanted 2, what I figured were mummies at the time. I thought, it's kind of like Indiana Jones kind of stuff. You don't think about that. It's like, okay, well, they're just trying to preserve art, so there's no questions asked. NATO was not involved. Alphabet agencies were not involved. There were 4 people on the non-disclosure agreement that were to be protected and named. That's who we knew. There were elements of Marines and Army and contractors. Who ran it? Lori knows who ran it. And it was business as usual. There wasn't no missiles were not hitting the buildings, and there was no crossing.
Walked in and walked out.
Exactly. It was already known. It was the curators were there.
They knew they were coming for it. They knew why they were there. There was no fight. There was no gunfight. There was nobody that, said, stop, you can't take this. It was seriously not an Indiana Jones type scenario.
It was nothing. It was business as usual.
Business as usual. They went in, and what did they walk out with?
They got Osiris and Ishtar.
And Ishtar was in an egg.
He was in an egg.
Yep.
And the last show we did a couple shows ago, according to Diodorus, a Greek writer whose 15 of 40 books were dug up by the Germans in Baghdad at the Ishtar Gate in like 1814. His first book that was found was called Ancient Egypt. And he told the story that Osiris was born of an egg from the darkness on the earth, which gave the earth life. So from what it says, that egg was his. My opinion why she was in it was because they hold her high for the fact that she became pregnant with a dead man's put together back body and an obelisk, that she used the apotheosis ritual, the sex magic Babylon workings. It's a ritual.
Right.
And she became pregnant with Horus from a dead man. That's why they regard her as a divine female.
Because she did what no other person or
could not do. No other human female could do that, and that's why she became a deity. She transformed, just like Nimrod / Osiris became a 𒀭🀭🉾. That's why they worship Nimrod / Osiris so much. He did what the fallen angels could not do. He was born a human. He became them.
And that's why the DNA is so important. That's why, you know, when Sitchin came out with this whole Anunnaki theory, the stories of the Anunnaki, you know, they transformed it to make it sound like, you know, these entities, these gods came down here. They manipulated our human DNA. They made, you know, modern day humans. They strip mined our planet for gold. You know, they put us, humanity, into slavery. What does it sound like? The same thing we've been talking about.
Well, I was about to say, it sounds like what we're going through right now by the elites.
Yes, but it also, I mean, when we look at the planet, they've been hiding the giants from us. We know that there have been giants on the earth before the flood and after the flood. We know that the atmosphere was different before the great flood. We know that there was, you know, taller trees. There was, you know, we've shown you rock formations that, you know, that have human form. You know, there's all these things that, of course, the Grand Canyon, they're trying to tell us the Grand Canyon was created by a river. And yet the Mississippi River, the Nile River, all these rivers have been running for who knows how long, and none of them have done what the Grand Canyon River did, the Colorado River. They're hiding the fact that the giants were here. They are real. They did strip our planet. They did mine our planet. They did, you know, something happened that, you know, that got rid of them, which was the flood. And so they've turned it around and created this fairy tale of these Anunnaki star gods. And people buy it, which is interesting because they'll buy that story before they'll buy the Bible.
100%. And when they push the whole Anunnaki, of course, you have the Assyrian, which, see, the most of the statues come from the Assyrian Empire. Sumerian stuff wasn't much left. Now, obviously, Osiris and Ishtar are Egyptian, quotation marks. But it's just a culture of what their name them. I can call them any name that represents that male and female. But the fact that he was in pieces fits the narrative of the Egyptian story. So the whole Anunnaki thing that people are pushing, that Saddam Hussein had all that.
But Saddam Hussein had a lot of ancient artifacts, and I just put that up on the screen, because southern Iraq was Sumer.
Yeah. But you never see, he only claimed to be Nebuchadnezzar reincarnated.
Yeah.
It is said, see, they people out here, they start tricking everybody. I saw something about how somebody said that they're telling a story about Nephilim. They said God sent 200 to help. I'm like, no, hell no.
God.
That number one, wrong. Yeah, that story's wrong. Right,
stop right there.
And then you hear about, well, you know, Saddam Hussein said that he was a reincarnation of a Sumerian king. Nebuchadnezzar wasn't Sumerian.
No.
You know, and the whole thing is, Nebuchadnezzar did what? What's the only thing you ever hear about him having something that would be considered not of his time? Is that fiery furnace, which you can turn up to heat up like the sun, 7 times? There is no fuel on the earth that you can turn up fuel on besides uranium or plutonium. Hence the reason why the Bible tells you, why did Daniel's buds have to don their hosen, garments, and hats to get into this thing?
Exactly.
Because it was a reactor. And Saddam Hussein was digging up technology and figuring out, like Nebuchadnezzar found out, like, what the hell is this? I did not know that this, how can this be old? We just dug 400 foot.
And that's why when the U.S. government, when the U.S. military went into Baghdad, that's why they went directly. I've said this before, you guys. When the military goes into a city, they take control of government buildings, military establishments. They usually go in and set up shop in the hotels. When we went into Baghdad, we went directly and do not collect $200 to the National Museum and cleaned it out because we knew what Saddam Hussein had.
Do you know when Saddam Hussein got those two entities, when he acquired their bodies? Do you know what year that was?
No.
1986.
Oh, wow.
That's a long time.
Where did he acquire them? Do you know anything about how he acquired them?
No, I just know the year.
John, we have a question in the chat. I know we've talked about this before. Crystal says, has anyone heard about the Red Giant in Kandahar? U.S. soldiers took him out in 2014. We also took a giant out of Iraq in the beginning.
Yeah, the Giant of Kandahar is a true story.
It's a true story, yeah.
It's now there's two different accounts that there was either in 2004 or 2002. Not saying that I don't know. I think it's 2004 because there is the pilot has come out on Coast to Coast who flew him out of Afghanistan from Bagram Air Base, and he claims it was 2004. And now, as for if they want to say a giant was taken, well, technically Nimrod became a giant. That's, you could say, yeah, you took him. He was in pieces. So it gets kind of confusing because he's also called Apollo and Nimrod, Osiris. It's all the same thing, just different cultures. But it's I'm just going to stick with Osiris, and then Nimrod, of course, because it's scripture. But he was in pieces. Right.
Yeah. And this makes sense because, again, if the governments of this world are looking into reanimating dinosaur DNA or woolly mammoth DNA, what makes us think that they haven't recovered the egg, the giant, all these other DNA, these ancient creatures, I don't know, human being-ish people? Why wouldn't they be messing with that DNA as well? And again, it goes back to, as in the days of Noah, that was a reason for the flood. They were messing with the DNA.
That's what they're doing with these giants. You know this. But speaking of the Anunaki too, and all these other people, what about Gilgamesh and the fact that he had the resurrection chamber and the WikiLeaks referring to Hillary asking about that? I'd really like to hear y'all saying.
Your name changes. Remember how Abram had his name changed? Well, it's the opposite. It's the same thing in Luciferianism. He had his name changed to Gilgamesh when he became a Gibberum. That's where that comes from. Saul became Paul. They don't know nothing else. So Gilgamesh is that. It's in the book of Jasher. You ever read how, wasn't Gilgamesh fought with a sword? Wasn't he chopped up?
Yeah.
It's just him. It's all the same thing. It's because he's a god to them, even to the watchers. And I think the last time I was on live on TikTok, as soon as I said that, when I distinguish the difference between Yahweh passing through the Virgin Mary when they were telling me that the Nephilim did the same thing. No, they didn't. The Nephilim became men and had penetrating intercourse. God passed through Mary in Immaculate Conception. That's two different things.
Right, right.
As soon as I said that, live cut, misinformation. I was like, oh, so TikTok now believes in that story.
Oh my God. You know, here's the thing about social media is do you, John, do you, and I guess Anne and Hero, because you guys all make content on TikTok. Do you believe that that TikTok has an algorithm specifically for you guys, or is there somebody actually watching you when you go live? I guess that's a fair question.
Somebody's watching for sure.
Somebody
It's mathematics.
watching you.
It's mathematics. I mean, I love math. Y'all know I'm a numbers person.
Yeah, but how can I look
freak.
at how John? I've heard John. He sometimes he talks in code and still gets hit. He doesn't come right out and say what he's saying at times, and he's still, you know, it's like they know.
They do know, because no AI can't figure that out.
Right, right.
Now, if you believe AI is alien intelligence, and or just say demons, right? Because that, you know, that kid having a conversation with a Nephilim giant, that AI doesn't know how to. That's either a person or that's really a entity that has taken over that particular app. You know what I mean? They can't tell you that my father was Satan and my father was a Nephilim and all. You know, somebody's either typing that or that's really an entity saying that to that person on that chat GPT. But
I think somebody just up for views. But what about that resurrection chamber? I really want to know what you think about that. I mean, I've been wanting to ask y'all about this for a long time, so I'm
the
foaming
only
at
thing
the
I
mouth.
believe is that it's that egg.
So what do you mean by egg? Is it like a little bitty egg? It's like a
No,
great big
it
giant
was a
egg?
capsule. It was an egg-shaped capsule.
You know what? Let me pull it up. This is what it reminds me of. Go ahead and talk. I'll just pull it up. Just
like the New Mexico, the Roswell show. Remember they were in those little eggs, those little pods.
Yeah. Well, do you remember what did Lady Gaga show up in?
Right.
Oh, she's so evil.
Glad you were sitting down, Ann.
That's what they do. They just it's because it's their creation story. The Luciferians have a whole same as what we believe in. They have their own thing. The egg came out of the darkness. I mean, the Oscars. I mean, here's something else. People think that the Ishtar Gate, which in fact a piece of it went the Germans took that way before, you know, Nazi Germany. But where else is the other piece at? In Babylon, Hollywood. Has anybody ever seen the entire Babylonian setup they have there? You know, just outside the Oscars, you know, I mean, it's like, why do they have that? Why do they have all these clips now that, I mean, it's been years, obviously, since it's been said, but they hold up the Oscar. That's you know, Osiris. And they dedicate everything to Babylon. I mean, go look at the clips. Stephen Colbert, Kathy Griffin, they're all, you know, it's all about Babylon.
Right.
Obviously,
And
there's a movie out.
all of this stuff goes back to Babylon. It goes back to, you know, Nimrod. All the gods, little g's, go back to Nimrod. All the goddesses go back to his mom / wife. Everything goes back to Babylon. Right in modern day, we have a modern day Tower of Babel, which is CERN.
Yeah, and the Tower of Babel, that's the Luciferians' Garden of Eden.
But you know what nobody's talking about is not just going back to Babylon, but going back to these Anunnaki or fallen angels, which I think they're fallen angels.
Yeah.
They taught, like Lori discussed earlier, all these different things. They taught us how to wear makeup, and they also taught magic. Okay, so regardless of what you research on the internet and what it tells about the origins of witches go all the way back, you know, to the fallen angels when they were taught magic. Okay, and all these people in Hollywood that you're talking about, so many of them, I've been doing some research on these witches, and I'm telling you that it's all tied in with this stuff as well. It's all to Babylon.
Correct. All roads lead back. When you think about it, you know, the old saying is all roads lead back to Rome. Well, what is Rome?
Rome's Nod.
And where's, the Rome? Rome is the Vatican's built on Nod. All roads lead back to Babylon. All roads lead back to Rome.
Yeah, because Nod is just a continuation of the Tower of Babel.
Correct.
I mean, where was everybody gathered at after the flood? It just started over again.
Yep. Yes, it did.
And then he just tried the separation. But then we all know where they ended up at, over there into the 5 plains of Sodom and Gomorrah. The same Yahoo's running the operation of the tower. So you have that. You have all the, strange flesh, transgenders, whatever was there. And then it's just, now it's in Hollywood, because the United States is Mystery Babylon. You got the capital built like Babylon, Egypt. It's all the same thing. I mean, if the original Egyptians were the fallen angels, then it's all the same dog and pony show everywhere.
And Babylon was in Iraq.
Yeah, and the thing is, the goofy Masons never want to talk about. They're like, well, Manly P. Hall, they never talk about his book, The Secret Destiny of America, because they know that they can't debunk it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like they would have to go against their, they got posters of him on their walls.
Right.
And they'll make up stuff like, oh, well, he might have been a little tipsy when he wrote that book. Ha, ha, ha. No, it's like, why does Washington, D.C. line up like it does? Why would you build it like that? Why? Why would that man call it a phoenix? Why would he call America a phoenix for the golden age? This man wrote that in that book, but yet these little goofy Masons won't ever mention it. And if they do,
but it's required reading. Manly P. Hall and Albert Pike are required reading for new Masons.
100%. I just see the Masons always. They always try to debunk. Well, Albert Pike was not talking about Lucifer. It was
he said Lucifer. He wrote Lucifer.
I know, it's like, but why? You know what I mean? If you they always have a great, brilliant doctrine response, but it's like, if Lucifer's not real, why did he talk about him? Why did Karl Marx love Lucifer so much with communism? If Lucifer is just some Santa Claus. It just, that don't make any sense. You could pick any character, pick your player, but they always talk about, Lucifer is misunderstood, and Lucifer, he just wants you to have this, and mean old God, he don't want you to have. It's like, it's so dumb. Yeah. Was I caught up in it? Yeah. Before I converted, I was mad at the Lord, but I do remember this. I didn't go run off to Lucifer. Obviously, you live in that realm. If you have when you're at war with Yahweh, then obviously you are with the world. But I mean, if somebody told me, what, with Lucifer, I'd be like, forget him too. I don't want to hear about that.
Yeah, a lot of. I mean, they have a twisted. A twisted reality, and I'm going to put something up on the board here for you guys, and I'll put the link. I'm going to warn you guys. It's Protocol 15 right here. Protocol 15, and this is from the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion. And you know what? You could sit there and say the courts deemed that this was fake. That's great. Explain to me how every protocol is coming to fruition. I'll wait. So Protocol 15 talks about how, that they have different levels and different knowledge for different levels, and how literally if you're not high up and you're not one of the elite, you are expendable. Problem is, you can only get to this website. You cannot use Google anymore. I can only get to it by using DuckDuckGo. I'll put the link in for you guys to take a look at. It's a great read. Again, you could sit there and say, the court deemed that, because it did. The court did deem that this was a fake document, but yet cannot explain to us how every single protocol, every single one, not just one, not just two, not just, 3 or 4, but literally 24 protocols are coming to fruition. So I'll put that in for you guys. So
Do you just put one of our links in the chat for our broadcast? You might need to recopy it.
What? Now it won't even let me copy it? What? I just pulled it out. Oh, wow. Okay, hold on a minute. That's crazy. I literally just copied and pasted it from the website.
It's like this whole thing about the whole banking situation. It's going to be pulled into a one world currency, yet people will still deny. Oh no, it'd be good for us. We need that. Don't make up anything, just so they don't have to be wrong.
Right.
That it's a beast system.
And look at the amount of people that are so preoccupied with this whole NIBIRU thing coming. NIBIRU this, NIBIRU that. Look at the sky. Their minds. That's all they do. They look at the skies. They try to say, well, this is the reason why they're spraying us. I do believe that we're being sprayed for a purpose, but I don't think it is to block out NIBIRU, because first off, you can block it out all you want, but if it comes into the solar system, if it comes close to us, it's, again, if you believe in the globe Earth, gravity is going to destroy the planet because of the mass. NIBIRU is supposedly a dwarf star. And I'm going to show you what they say.
I've always chose not to believe in it because the thought of it being real is terrifying. And I just chose not to put that in my reality, because that would mean we would have a pole shift. And I've always wondered why there's so many sunken cities underneath the ocean. Okay. But a pole shift is not something I want to experience ever. So let's just, for my part, I say it's not true.
But pole shifts happen naturally. I mean, that you don't need this. Well, I'm going to tell you, if NIBIRU comes into our solar system, the sheer mass of the planetary system, because it's a planetary system, it's not just, it's NIBIRU is the star system, and there's 6 other planets that revolve around this dwarf star. And here's another thing: is it's a dwarf star, which means you can only see it in infrared. You cannot see it with the naked eye. You need special equipment to be able to see it. So you're not going to be able to see it with your iPhone. You're not going to be able to look up and see it like that, because it's through infrared. But it's a star system. It has its own star. It has its own planets revolving around the thing. So if this ever came into our solar system, we would know it through gravitational. Again, if you believe in the globe Earth. If you believe in the flat Earth, you might as well turn us off now, because what we have even talked about isn't even really relevant.
That's exactly it. Yes, pick your poison.
It's not even relevant. Stitching. If we live in a flat, non-movable plane, then stitching is wrong. Straight out of the gate. If you believe in the globe, well, he's wrong because he mistranslated, and he had very powerful people pushing him and paying him to do it.
Yeah, we just exposed them tonight, so.
Huh?
I said, yeah, we just exposed him, so nothing he says has any value.
I actually contacted, this was after he passed away, I actually contacted his webmaster, the guy that runs his website, and I asked him for a comment. I asked him for a statement. I said, it's come to my attention that Zachariah Stitchin has been debunked through peer review. Do you have anything to say about it? And that's when I actually found out that he had given a deathbed confession that it wasn't real. But again, people like Eric von Daniken, they've made millions of money off of this whole ancient astronaut theory.
Can I just add, Lori, that you just broke my heart with that story too, because even though I have a vast amount of knowledge about insignificant things, I did not have that in my wheelhouse. And you broke my heart when you told me that he was in jail, and I went and Googled it, and yep, you were right like always. He was. And just shattered another one of my illusions. Thank you so much for just
I
destroying
don't
my
say,
world.
if you guys don't know me by now, I don't say literally nothing I say on these broadcasts. I make up nothing. I don't make anything up. I have every source to back up everything I say.
Well, I really like him, so thanks a whole lot for
You're
that.
welcome. You're
That's like
welcome.
one of my favorite shows. You just ruined it.
I'm sorry, but I
Sorry.
mean, it's
But for the record, I just want to put in there that he did argue that it was the creditor's fault for not investigating the claims that he made when he filled out these applications. And he does have a little bit of a point there. They were negligent in that matter. And, he did have to do this research to get this information out. And I think that it was a little bit ingenious of him that while he was in prison, that he did utilize his time to write his second book. Very clever. And use his first book to pay his legal fees for his other stuff. So, got to give him a little credit for that. Just putting it out there.
For his ingenuity. We'll give him that credit. We'll give him
He has made me really interested, though, throughout the years on mysteries and of stuff like this, too, Some of the things that he does point out, though, are interesting.
I'm not going to lie. The ancient astronaut theory is fascinating. It is. But like I said earlier, it amazes me at how many people can believe in that theory and not believe in the Bible. I mean, to some, the Bible seems, I mean, does the ancient astronaut theory sound that much more believable than the Bible?
To me, it takes more faith to believe in that theory than it is the Bible.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's why they don't show the real artifacts, which I have plenty of pictures of stuff dug up in Mexico that, have to do with the Toltec and then, the Aztecs and Mayans. And this is real. It's real. And if people would see what are on these things, which I'll probably end up sending them to Lori, so maybe she wants to post them. But they have jade and marble, these artifacts. They're little spaceships. They have the gray type alien. They have these pottery, which it shows the Toltec women giving birth to elongated skull babies, hybrids. And they have Egyptian gods mixed with these elongated skull aliens with wings and then the snake tail. And then that's a repetitive entity that's on most of the artifacts, is that elongated skull with wings and then the snake tail. Mm-hmm. And then you also have them where it shows a bipedal serpent along with Egyptian, humans. Mm-hmm. And this stuff isn't shown. You're not going to go to Egypt. I always say all the time, they're like, I traveled to Egypt and then here's this, and they'll show the little, what they ever got for the tourist. But
right, they got this for $1.50 at the tourist.
Yes.
Yeah. And
then the real stuff dug up in Mexico, Egyptians weren't over there, or were they? How does the Toltecs got these things with Anubis on it?
John, we've got Egyptian hieroglyphics in the Grand Canyon. We've got
100%, and we talked about that.
Yeah, we've got temples to the Egyptians in the same. Why is it that you're not allowed? They could sit there and say all they want. Oh, it's for your safety. We don't want you to go to that part of the part of the Grand Canyon because we don't want you to get hurt. No, you don't want us to see the temples, and you don't want us to see the Egyptian hieroglyphics written there.
The artifacts show that there was intercourse and procreation between fallen and humans, and that proves the Bible is true. Even if it is a little from a Toltec region, 40 clicks out of Mexico City, hint, hint. And they have these things that are recovered, not just by, private contractors, but by people who is shown to have been threatened. One of them was a priest from who did a lot of work in El Salvador. Mm-hmm. And he got stuff from El Salvador years ago, but he dug up like literally 15,000 different artifacts between the years in the 50s and the 70s. And all of it was taken by who? The Smithsonian.
Smithsonian Institute. I would literally, I'd give my wisdom teeth to have access to not only the Smithsonian, but the secret library of the Vatican.
Well, and there's also a man who came out who was the son-in-law of literally one of the top guys on the board of the Cosmos Club. He was a son-in-law, and he got access, and they opened up the drawers, and they're like, oh, well, it's the wrong drawer. I might get in trouble, but they liked the guy. Him and his son were in there, and this guy disclosed that they had the decapitated heads of the sons of Horus, the chimera sons of Horus. They had all 4 of their heads. Those were real.
Right. Pamela says Smithsonian, never to be seen again.
Yeah, they got him. He saw him. He saw the 4 heads, the sons of Horus. They'll tell you that that's that's a little vases that they put the organs in. I was trying to ask that guy on TikTok who has like 800,000 followers. I call him Drag Queen Storytime, but his name is Museum of Teru. He was like, he blocked me.
I was just gonna say he's the guy that blocked you like immediately, didn't he?
Yeah, because he don't want nobody to know that Sons of Horus. He don't want nobody to know that they were real chimeric things that the Smithsonian had. That's why I was like, he must be an agent of the Smithsonian.
Wow, and that would seem right that the Smithsonian would have agents out there putting out. I mean,
100%.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, he's an agent for a fact.
I mean, it makes sense that, there would be agents that, because TikTok's there's a lot of information being dropped over there. They can't have that. I mean, literally, I could see why Congress is trying to ban it. It's not because of it being associated with China. I think it's because of the information that's being put out on it. And they don't have any way to shut that gate because the United States doesn't have control of it.
It's like overflow of truth bombs listed on TikTok.
Yeah.
And that really got me into studying about, ancient Israel and not being where it's depicted right now, and Egypt as well. So, yeah, it let me down that rabbit hole for sure.
Yeah. And, you have to be careful over on there because there's a lot of things like, people send me, I get a lot of messages, a lot of videos. Like I said, I spend a lot of time, I'm scrolling. And by the way, even if I don't answer you guys, I watch what you send me. Put it that way. It's just, sometimes it gets very overwhelming with the information that I get sent. But there's a lot of things.
Lori.
I will. No, not you. Present company excluded. I never read anything you guys send me.
Cold-blooded.
We get a read receipt when you watch our videos that we send you on TikTok. You know that, right? It shows us on TikTok when you've watched that video. So tread carefully, little girl. Okay.
Anyways, but I research it, and I'm one of those skeptics. I'm not even going to believe it until I try to look for it for myself. And there's a lot of things that people send that I'm like, this is so old. They're putting it. Nothing irritates me more than somebody putting out something that's current, and I know that it's like 20 years old. But
or better yet, anytime I see somebody on TikTok saying, the Lord told me this about such and such and so and so, I'm scrolling right through.
Yeah.
The Lord ain't directly talking to you.
Yeah. Exactly. So now, this is a topic that I think, I don't know about anybody else, but I've been seeing a lot of videos of people saying, Nibiru's close, it's here. I've been hearing that since the 1980s.
Lori would know. Her age speaks for it.
Thank you. Okay. I deserve that one. All right.
Payback.
Wow. Yeah, I do. Careful. I know where you are, and I'll bring my wheelchair. That's too funny.
That's all right. I push you around with a broke back.
Right. Careful. I could that's leave you open too. But it just it flabbergasts me that these people again, and I keep going back to this because it really just blows my mind that they would much rather believe in the Anunnaki than they would rather believe in the fallen angels when that's what they are.
No doubt. Well, then also it branches off too, because what else do you have? You have the atheists of TikTok or atheists of anything.
Yeah.
It's my gosh, they got some. They think they have an argument, but it's always, well, God may be scared of this, or God doesn't care if I don't get the parking spot, or God don't care if I don't win the football game. It was like,
yeah, it's very, very, very crazy things. I mean,
exactly. It's lunacy, because
you're mad at God because he didn't give you a red bike when you were 4.
It's true. That's what they say. They act like that God's all their problems. I'm thinking, how?
He's not Dear Abby.
Yeah. How is it? What did he do? What did he do? That's what I want to know. It's like, you know what? I want to hear a logical reason, and then maybe I'll believe you. But what did he do to you?
Right.
Well, it's like,
but it's always something to do with I didn't get when I prayed.
100%.
That's always what it is. Because he's never really physically done anything to you. It's because you didn't feel that you got the right response for him. You know what? When you pray, he always responds. It's just sometimes not what you want.
Well, yeah, exactly. And 90% of them go in there and argue with him. But I always tell them, you know what? I don't want to argue with you about God. I want to argue with you about Lucifer. And right. What they said, what? He's misunderstood. I'm like, here we go. Okay.
Well, when the TV show Lucifer came out, it was a big thing. Everybody was like, they got a TV show Lucifer out, and of course, I because of research, I had to watch a couple of episodes of it. And the whole feeling of the entire show was he's misunderstood. He's really a good guy. He's just misunderstood. And I was like, oh, dear God. I was like, this will go 18 seasons. I can see it now.
Pray for me.
Easily.
Never missed the episode. I loved it. Y'all pray for me. Y'all pray for me.
Yes, Richard. He answers prayers. Sometimes the answer is no. Just like any other parent. No parent out there gives their child every whim that's asked for. No parent.
Or when they want.
Or when they want. No parent does that. And that's, to use that as the basis for your non-belief in him is ridiculous. And then another thing is, why do bad things happen? Well, bad things happen to us because we're under the curse. That's why bad things happen to us.
But then they'll say, and then they'll be like, well, God gave us that curse and he didn't have to. And
no doubt, God did not. We, the sins of the fathers, Eve did it. So.
Here's something else. I know people have traumas in their life, and I don't wish that upon anybody. If somebody has, if something's done to them when they're a child, which it seems to be the whole story nowadays is like, that person did this to me when I was a kid and God didn't stop it. Well, God had other people around who could not be around because someone like me could stop it.
Right.
I'm the representative. I'll go in there and, take off kneecaps or whatever needs to be done. But that's the thing. They always go to that narrative of what I call the faith killer. And it's like, that child got cancer. I don't know what to tell you. If I could snap my fingers and it'd be gone, I'd have done snapped them long time ago.
Right. Exactly.
But it's like, here's the thing. They don't look at the aspect of heaven and, is that kid going to pass? No, we don't know. It could, the Lord can decide whatever. But
God, well, when we're created, he knew us before, we were created in the womb.
100%.
We have a certain amount of time, that these kids that get sick and they die. I mean, that was their appointed time.
Yeah, that was their journey. And it sucks. I get it. I really understand. It sucks. I would do it if I could. If I, it'd be 𝀭🀭💾🉾, but if the Lord said, John, snap your fingers, or you can't have that '77 Trans Am, I'd be like, you know what, that kid's gonna live because I don't need that car. It's like I would do it. 100%.
Right, but that's and I think a lot of people use their hatred and their disappointment and their resentment, and they take it. I mean, they do. It's no different than a father-child or a parent-child relationship. We all have gotten mad at our parents for not giving us what we wanted. But you can't blame God for not giving you that red bike that when you were 4 that you prayed for. You can't. It doesn't hold up. But that's what these people go on, and it's sad. And these are the same people that will down the Bible and say that it's a book of fairy tales. There's no physical evidence for the existence of Jesus Christ, but yet they'll believe in the Anunnaki and this NIBIRU's coming to kill us.
Well, here's the thing too. I've never heard anybody say, well, the Anunnaki came down and cured me. I've never heard that.
Right.
They made it so special. They took an orangutan and then they did something with it and made a human. Well, did God give us the viruses and the diseases and stuff? They'll make that up. It's like, but I thought the Bible said that the earth don't kill us. Comes forth both thorn and thistle. I don't get it.
Yeah.
That tells me that viruses are man-made. Everything's manipulated. Drugs.
Yeah.
Viruses.
Yeah.
The earth ain't got that stuff.
No. And everything that is every illness or sickness that is natural, God has given us a natural cure.
100%. That's exactly it. Something, it's just cured. The earth brings forth both thorn and thistle.
Right. And Western medicine is now resorted to outlawing natural remedies and pushing for petroleum-based pharmaceuticals, which again keep us in that cycle of being sick and tired, worn down, weak, both in brain and body. Does anybody listening or on the panel know what the secret covenant is?
I don't know. In my mind, there's 500 million of them.
The secret covenant talks about how the Illuminati, the powers that be, how they're going to keep us sick, and they do these things, and they keep our minds weak, our bodies sick. They give us these, they're in our food, our water. They spray us with things, and they keep us dependent on them. Let me see if I can find it.
Isn't that from like a ritual book or something like that? Like,
we don't know where it's from.
Rosicrucians, or I know what you're talking about.
What was it again? I heard Rosicrucians. I love them.
It's called the Secret Covenant.
Does it got to do with Mary Magdalene?
No. Give me a second.
Okay.
Let's see if I can find it. Yep, I got it. Let me play it real quick, because this is exactly what they've got and what they're doing to us. Take a listen.
An illusion it will be. So large, so vast, it will escape their perception. Those who will see it will be thought of as insane. We will create separate fronts to prevent them from seeing the connection between us. We will behave as if we are not connected, to keep the illusion alive. Our goal will be accomplished one drop at a time, so as to never bring suspicion upon ourselves. This will also prevent them from seeing the changes as they occur. We will always stand above the relative field of their experience, for we know the secrets of the Absolute. We will work together always, and will remain bound by blood and secrecy. Death will come to he who speaks. We will keep their lifespan short and their minds weak while pretending to do the opposite. We will use our knowledge of science and technology in subtle ways, so they will never see what is happening. We will use soft metals, aging accelerators and sedatives in food and water, also in the air. They will be blanketed by poisons everywhere they turn. The soft metals will cause them to lose their minds. We will promise to find a cure from our many fronts. Yet, we will feed them more poison. The poisons will be absorbed through their skin and mouths. They will destroy their minds and reproductive systems. For all this, their children will be born dead, and we will conceal this information. The poisons will be hidden in everything that surrounds them, in what they drink, eat, breathe, and wear. We must be ingenious in dispensing the poisons, for they can see far. We will teach them that the poisons are good, with fun images and musical tones. Those they look up to will help. We will enlist them to push our poisons. They will see our products being used in film and will grow accustomed to them, and will never know their true effect. When they give birth, we will inject poisons into the blood of their children and convince them it's for their health. We will start early on, when their minds are young. We will target their children with what children love most: sweet things. When their teeth decay, we will fill them with metals that will kill their mind and steal their future. When their ability to learn has been affected, we will create medicine that will make them sicker and cause other diseases, for which we will create yet more medicine. We will render them docile and weak before us by our power. They will grow depressed, slow, and obese. And when they come to us for help, we will give them more poison.
Get the idea? This is exactly, I don't want to play too much because I don't want us to get in trouble, but I'll put the link in for you guys to watch this, and I'll put it in our private chat for you guys to finish it. It's exactly, telling us exactly what they're doing. It's called the Secret Covenant. Nobody knows where it came from. Nobody knows who made it. Nobody knows. And again, same as with the protocols of the learned elder of Zion, people will say it's not true, it's not real, and yet each and every one of the things that he says is true, and it comes to fruition.
Yeah, they'll make up stuff. Oh, that's not real. You found that in the Cracker Jack box.
Yeah, a lot of people, I found this, throughout the years of interacting with people on social media. First off, they want to be spoon-fed, which never made sense to me, because I want to learn things on my own. I want to prove it or disprove it. And they want to argue with you, even though you give them the proof, especially when it comes to the Bible.
They ready to.
Yeah. So I'm going to pull up a post that I put up on Facebook the other day. My husband is famous for not only debating with people, but before he does or as he does, he offers them, he'll tell them, why don't you turn your life around, give it to Christ now while you still can, while you still have the time. And, and they come back and they laugh at him and they mock him. And it's just, I feel so bad for him some days, because it's like, God, Dave, I don't know how you just continue to do this. I would be like, screw you all, but he's very patient.
You'd be surprised. Like, Facebook, they do generated ads and posts based off of things that you like and whatnot. So I see a lot of open groups where, somebody posts a comment and somebody in the comment section, tries to say a prayer and be uplifting and stuff like that. Yeah. And you see the amount of laughter and just like, it's like vultures attacking the dead animal.
Just mocking.
Yeah.
This was the Economist magazine I was talking about. That Stitchin was associated with October 1987. This was the when they put out that I took a copy of it too, right here. So my husband's alter ego on Facebook is one of them is Johnny Love. He also has a couple other ones, and he also has Dave Swan, which is his real name. But he gets suspended so often that he has an alter ego, and it's David Love. And so Dave, offered him the gift of salvation, and this guy came back and says, you have yet to prove that your God's existence. And even if he did exist, why would you think that I would have any desire to be in heaven with a bunch of petty, egotistical, immature, sexist, bigoted, homophobic, lying, hypocritical, religious fuckwads?
Oh yeah.
I was like,
I mean, he has a point in the picture that he posted with that comment. I mean, the rainbow flag, which seems what he represents,
100%. It's always them every time.
It's associated with hell. I mean,
right.
And that's the thing that they always have heard. I'll be honest. I've never heard the Lord actually be like, you know what? You're homosexual. I ain't gonna want nothing to do with you. He never said that. Now, the message of the cross says that all sins are equal, and you need to come to the Lord to repent and refrain, and He'll make you new again. So I don't see how they never heard that before. When I would preach it years ago, I've heard a million times. I never heard that before. That's what's true. You don't want my opinion, because I'm over here. If I looking at a chick, well, that's the same what you're doing. There is no categories.
Yeah, there isn't category. I mean, there's not levels of sin. There's
not at all. But
you did this, but this is how you meant it. So it's a lower class than, I cheated on my wife, but I only did it because she hasn't, been, very receptive of me. Like, no, you cheated.
It's just there as sin, but then he makes it, white as wool if it's crimson. But that's the message that they never heard. So even to say that, heaven's full of homophobes, it's never even mentioned.
Right. Again, it's the translation, and I think that this is the problem, and we're seeing that with Stitchin, with Zechariah Stitchin and his false translation. Let me just ask you guys a question. If Zechariah Stitchin can be coerced, paid, manipulated, talked into, or voluntarily mistranslates what the tablets that he did, who's to say that hasn't been done in the past with other translations of even biblical writings? That's why it's so important not to use, I call them dirty translations of the Bible, like I try to stay as close to the original, the 1811 or the study Bibles or stuff like that, because you have to be really careful. If you get into the NIVs, they've completely taken out entire verses of the Bible.
That's true. And the guys I work with, they kind of, they giggle when I say this, but then they're kind of like thinking about it, because, everybody seems to be logical that I've been around, in the past few years. And they'll ask me, about, well, how come this is that? And one of the things that comes up, because they ask me, I'm going to tell them straight up. The whole thing about, a man can have a man as a friend. Like they said David, loved his friend. Of course, he wasn't. David didn't take part in what was called the sodomy. We talked about that before.
Yeah, last week, I think it was.
But sodomy goes for a man and a woman too.
Yeah.
If you with a woman and you doing sodomy, that's the mouth of Satan ritual, and you are participating in a demonic ritual. Correct. And the people I work with, they're kind of, a bunch of old, oil filled hands, and of course they're gonna be like, oh man, but then they kind of wait a minute. I said, it's what it is. There is no difference between a male and a female or a male and a male.
Right.
It's a ritual. That's what's frowned upon. A man can live with a man, if they're not sodomites, then guess what? You think the Lord cares because you live with him? That's it. It's a ritual. That's my opinion. But I'm gonna tell you, if you go look into the Thelema and all these little Luciferian buttholes, pun intended, they always talk about that's mouth of Satan ritual. But that goes for everybody. Sorry to say.
And yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is 100%.
I get it. I get it. People, they're consenting adults and they're man and wife, and I know.
No,
but in the end, it's supposed to. No, it covers everybody.
And if you want to get in, if you guys want to go down that rabbit hole, I discovered a website, and I will try to find it. It was talking about. Is this it? Hold on a minute. Yeah, this is it. Okay, I'll pull it up here just to show you guys, because this is like John said, sodomy is a satanic ritual, and the key to the Illuminati, they do perform this. This is what they do. I usually don't talk about like over on Facebook or something the extent of this. But if you look, a lot of these people have, you can tell it by the bags under their eyes. And this is a sign that they have participated in. And I think this goes along with the black eye as well. We see these guys with the black eyes. It goes along.
They call that guy crazy, that Orlando Brown, but he said exactly that.
Yeah. But what's interesting is like I said, I went down this rabbit hole, no pun intended, actually. But what happens is during the ritual, if they don't see, how can I put this classy? When they penetrate with usually a cross, they angle it so there is a gangling of nerves inside the body there, in that area, that when you hit it, they see a bright light, and they are told that you are seeing God. And it's quite an interesting rabbit hole to go down, because it involves the Catholic Church. And after researching this, I did this a number of years ago, I researched this topic. But now we see the panda eyes, we see the black eyes, we see, all of that stuff. So yeah, when you say it is a Luciferian, a satanic ritual, you are 1,000 times 1,000% correct. I've been down some rabbit holes you guys would not believe. And not by choice. It's doing research. You start on something. I think that what led me down that rabbit hole was actually the Catholic Church, and I think it was Donald Marshall was talking about some of the rituals that he had seen during his time when he was being held, and he was talking about that, and that was part of that rabbit hole that I went down. Very. And I'm putting it so as we don't, I don't want to offend anybody, but yeah, that's the reason for it.
I mean, here's the thing too, it because it's a collective, they all have these either bags or the black eyes, like you say.
Yeah.
Then it's become popular.
Yep.
And every piece of frequency propaganda.
Yep.
Commercials or rappers or whoever has it, and also too. Why, if cattle mutilations are real, why is the whole entire rectum with the nervous system taken every time? Right.
And yeah, I mean, that's the entire nervous system. And, that's their primary goal, is to get you to see that white light, to get you to see, quote unquote, God. And they use it as a torture device as well. they, you know, it's quite the other way when it comes to the torture. But you know, this is their rituals. This is what they do. That's why when you see these people, you know, it's yeah, pretty deep dark. Again, not to be pun intended, deep dark hole on that rabbit hole.
All right, I'm gonna pull you out. I'm gonna pull you out of that rabbit hole. It's just so
Thank you.
depressing.
Thank you.
Because I'm your best friend. But I do want to ask about that. Go back to the Anunnaki, if that's cool with you. I had a question before the show was over about those wristwatches and also y'all were talking about the egg, but I don't. It looks more like a pine cone to me that they're holding in their hand. But you know, they have like this little pine cone looking thing in their hand,
that's
and they have the purse, have the watch, and so I'm really curious about this purse, especially. But yeah, all three of those things intrigue me, and I was just wondering if y'all had any insight on that.
The pine cone is the pineal gland.
Yep. Yep. That's why you see it outside of the Vatican. There's pine cones all over the place. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, then the wristwatch too. That looks like the Storson sign, the black sun. It's
and you're talking about. I'm assuming this is what you're talking about.
The wristwatch looking thing. Well, they have a wristwatch on. That's a little purse they got.
Yeah, they've got the wristwatches above the purse.
Oh, do it. Yeah. If you look at the way it looks like the Storson sign symbols from Germany, Nazi Germany, the black sun.
You know what? This reminds me of, and I could be completely, totally off base here, but it reminds me of when President carries the football.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, it's probably. It's almost like. To me, it's almost like he pulled the pineal gland, which is a knowledge, out of the bag and is showing you, look, we control the knowledge.
Yeah. Pretty interesting that they have these things.
And the arms too, the way each one.
They're all carrying it a certain way. You know, the hand is turned inward. Let me see if I can find.
Maybe they could control gravity with it, and that's how they were able to move those big rocks and things.
It could be some sort of technology. Absolutely. See, there's the wristwatch, and here's the bag. You know,
if that thing shows up, I'm going to try to kick the shit out of it.
There you go. Well, we're coming up on 2 hours already, guys.
Time flies. We're having fun.
It does. Time flies. So how about we go around and we get final thoughts from everybody, and then we'll close down for the night. And next week we're going to come back and we're going to do the 411 missing people in the federal lands along with the cryptids. Is that right, Hero? Pretty sure that's what we decided on. So final thoughts let's start with Hurricane. We'll go around opposite today.
I guess my final thoughts is, well, thank you for having me on the show, and I love it. It was great. But I'm still intrigued about this resurrection chamber, which I didn't really get the answer that I was looking for. I'm wanting to know, I guess, essentially are they using this for reincarnation? Why did Hillary want the resurrection chamber? Is she planning on coming back?
She wanted the sarcophagus, right? Is that what she wanted?
No, it's a resurrection chamber. It's the resurrection chamber of Gilgamesh. It's Gilgamesh in the direct words were the resurrection chamber. So what does that mean, resurrection
real quick, Hurricane?
Is she planning on coming back? Are we going to be stuck with her again? I need to know this stuff. Okay,
Hurricane, real quick. Hillary is Hilarion. She is the whore of Babylon reincarnated. So
yes, sir.
She wants the egg. Yeah, that's Ishtar. That's who she is. That's why she wants the egg that Ishtar was found in. So it's not resurrection. It's because of the apotheosis. That is the key word, apotheosis.
John, it's funny you should mention. Does this have anything to do with the pictures that I've been seeing? They've been going, and it's not a new, but you've got pictures like, like Hollywood or actors or stars and government officials. They look like, we've got pictures of them back in ancient times. We got pictures of Mark Zuckerberg, as a king. We've got, all these people that people call them doppelgangers, but are they really? Are they time travelers, or are they reincarnated with this apotheosis ritual?
All I know is Hillary Clinton's going to be in charge of this country at some point.
Ugh.
Ugh.
Okay. Hero, final thought.
Hopefully you don't switch up the topic on me next time. I don't really have much.
I won't, I promise.
to
Next week,
honest.
I know. I'm sorry about that. Next week, we will definitely talk about the 411. I promise.
That was my bad too. I jumped in with one of my epiphanies.
Yeah, it was a last minute thing. It happened quite late last night. So, and I slept most of the day today. I didn't even think about it. And I do apologize, Hero. Won't happen again.
It's all good.
John, final thoughts.
My final thoughts is don't pay attention to the sky people.
Yeah.
Pay attention to the Lord. And the thing is, we always, everybody here knows that. But it's not for everybody. If I talk about pre-Adamite, well, it just is what it is. I'm not trying to convince anybody. It just kind of gives you a peace of mind. It's always helped me to understand more. And once I disclosed, about an operation, because that really changed my perspective on a lot of things. Of course, I had a conversion through the Lord, but then that was revealed to me after I accepted the repentance. So Jesus is always first, and Nephilim hijinks is always second. But just know that there is a plan in place, whether it's with the banking system going on now or some sort of a mothership returning, but it's just a bunch of Lucifer and his buddies to reveal this great deception, in my opinion, and don't buy it.
Nothing new under the sun, right?
100%.
Right. Final thoughts, Ernie?
John took the words out of my mouth, man. As far as application goes, just know your enemy and study the word, disregard all these disembodied spirits and false narratives that, people who worship Satan are trying to instill upon you. Disregard them. They are nothing. They're beneath us. They're underneath our feet. They're toothless lions, so we have overcame the world because Jesus Christ has done so already. And once you get have that understanding and applying that understanding to your daily life, there's no reason to fear anymore. And that's how they are fueled, by fear.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And what do we say here? We don't participate in the fear mongering. We don't. We just give you the information. Never a spirit of fear here. All right, so we are going to end for tonight. I do want to thank all of our panelists, and I want to thank everybody for watching us. And we want to tell you guys that the information that we give you is just for informational purposes. It's so that you are prepared, that you can take the precautions to make yourself and your family safe for the things that are coming. The last thing we want to do is to have you be caught off guard on anything. And the spirit of fear is not something that we want you to feel here. Spirit of fear is not of God. So until next time, guys, I want to thank everybody watching us. I want to thank all of our moderators, and I am preparing a show on Necker Island and the Bitcoin, like I said I was going to for you guys. I will get that up and possibly do that this weekend, maybe, I don't know, Saturday night, or maybe it'll be our Sunday show. So, all right, until next time, guys, remember, eyes open, no fear.